Let's write a linear equation to solve applications. Now, our linear equation is generally y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, right? We know that as the constant rate of change. Constant meaning same every time. And then b is the y-intercept, which is our starting point or the initial value. Remember that x and y represent all points on the line. Okay, let's jump in. You started your own business and want to purchase water bottles with your logo to give away as advertisement. The company you contacted charges $15.50 for an initial setup plus $4.75 per bottle ordered. Write an equation to represent the cost of W water bottles. Now, one thing that I got to say is if you're doing math problems and they tell you what variable to use, you probably should use it. Just saying. Now, we all know that variables are just an unknown value, which means it really shouldn't matter which one you use. Just throwing that out there. Okay, now what do we know? Okay, let's look at this. We know that we have a $15.50 initial setup. I like to think, like, how many times is that happening? Well, if it's just the initial setup fee, it's happening one time. And if it happens one time, that's my starting point, right? That's my y-intercept. So we know that B equals $15.50. That's my initial piece. I pay the startup fee, then I pay $4.75 per bottle. There's my constant rate of change. Every bottle I order, $4.75. So my linear equation would be y equals slope times the number of water bottles, I'm struggling today, plus $15.50. Now, you could even, instead of y, use C, right? The cost is $4.70 per water bottle plus the initial cost of $15.50. And there's my linear model, right? Looks exactly the same as y equals mx plus b. Variable is just an unknown value. Let's do another. You own a small tutoring business with daily operating expenses of $780. Your company charges $25 for a half-hour session. Write a linear model to represent your profit for a single day of tutoring. Okay, what do we know? We have operating expenses. That's negative, right? That's money out of your pocket. So my y-intercept is negative 780. I say this is the y-intercept because this happens one time, right? And this is my initial value. No matter what happens, I have $780 of daily expenses for this business. So that's money going out right away, starting point. Then I have money coming in, right? We're charging $25 for every half-hour session. So my slope is 25 and my unknown, right? So let's say X represents the number of half-hour sessions. Okay, so my profit, we'll call that P. So profit is slope times the number of sessions minus 780. Now, you might say, when would I ever use this? Well, my partner owns her own business, and we do this quite a bit where she's like, hey, if this happens and this happens, what do I do? And I throw together an equation, and I'm like, okay, if this happens, this is your whatever. And we do this kind of what-if scenario using equations. It's very fun, actually. All right, let's do one more. You want to order T-shirts for giveaways at your next event. 12 T-shirts cost $181, and 25 T-shirts cost $363. Write a linear model to represent the cost of T-shirts. Okay, well, here's the thing. We know that 12 T-shirts cost $181 and 25 cost $363. So, and I'm looking at y equals mx plus b. I got nothing, right? So the first thing we're going to do is let's find the slope. So y minus y over x minus x. And I end up with 182 over 13, which is 14. All right, so there's my slope. M equals 14. Well, that's not what I need. Also need the y-intercept. So I'm going to use point slope form. Okay, and I'm just going to jump right to my equation. Okay, so if I do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, I can do this. So I'm going to use the first one. I'm just going to keep my numbers as small as possible. So y minus 181 equals my slope of 14 times x minus 12. Right, and you can use either point. Mathematically, it'll be the same. So let's distribute our 14. So y minus 181 equals 14x minus 168. I'm going to add 181 to both sides, and I get y equals 14x plus 13. So this means I'm paying $14 per t-shirt with an initial cost of $13. Now, they did tell me the cost of t-shirts. So instead of X, I'm going to want to put a T in there. So 14T plus 13. And again, you could say I don't want Y, maybe I want that to be the cost equals $14 per t-shirt plus a $13 startup cost. Linear functions, good times.